So intimacy helps you strengthen your bond. And there's all different kinds of intimacy. And we know that over time it's really hard to keep sexual intimacy going in a long-term relationship. But that also means that it's time to kick in and remind yourself that there's all different ways to be intimate. And are you strengthening all the other ways as well? Sometimes we overemphasize, like, if our physical intimacy isn't working, we aren't connecting. And that's not necessarily true. But also, it might be the bridge to reconnecting and igniting your physical intimacy part of your relationship by really working in the other areas well so that you feel really comfortable and strong and understood and empathize with. So there isn't all these things that stop intimacy. A lot of my couples tell me um, that they're feeling like there's so many things to work out before they would ever be vulnerable with their partner again or trust them again. And so sometimes we have to do a little bit of both. We have to really rebuild and process the things that have been painful in the relationship. And we have to be intimate in the ways that we can be, that we are open to being. And sometimes intimacy is just spending time together and doing the simplest bonding things. So I want you to think about the different ways of being intimate. So we have physical, emotional, intellectual, and experiential intimacy. It kind of reminds me of the love languages where we really are needing to play towards the other person's sense of intimacy if we want to get closer to them in their style of intimacy. And we need to educate the other person about our style of intimacy that makes us feel comfortable and close. So if you're an active person, and your partner isn't. And one of the ways that people can really get close to you is by being physical with you, walking with you, hiking with you, biking with you, having this experience. And then you kind of have this, let down of your defenses. And finally, you're feeling more relaxed enough to connect. Then this is something really important for your partner to know. But if they're not like that, if they're more like intellectual and that's how they like to connect, then sometimes you learn to adapt to your partner's style of intimacy. And so I want you to think about where are your areas that are strong in your intimacy and the ways that you connect, and where are the ones that they don't interest you at all. And to have an honest conversation about that. Not so much that you're like, okay, stay away from me in those areas, but yeah, I understand your love languages and you understand mine. So I'm going to connect you with love languages here. So in the discernment process, when you're in this process, you're identifying areas of intimacy, the ones that are working for you, the ones you're disconnected on, and the ones you're disappointed by. So the reason why I'm looking at this area of intimacy, strengthening, bonding, rekindling, is if this is an area that you cannot approach at all in your relationship, maybe you are in door number one or you are in door number three. If you're wanting to attempt it, then maybe you are entering in door number two. So this gives us information about where we are in the relationship and what our desire is around it. So this part is for if you're wanting to try to see if there is intimacy in your relationship in all the ways that I mentioned, then keep listening to this, but you're like, oh no, this is not my section. I'm in a discernment process because I feel like I'm starting to make that decision, discerning that I don't want to give any more and of my energy to the relationship. I really want to minimize it by door number one, just figuring out how to structure myself. Or door number three, I'm going to go towards that and just be much more clear about how I do that. So in the love languages, you will find out what your partner's love language is and what yours is. And this is important to keep working on this and to start rekindling some parts of the relationship or seeing if you can, which means remembering the times where you had that last period in your relationship. And I was talking to you about that in the phases of the relationship, the stages of the relationship, because this was an important period to know that you had a time like this and you came together like this at one time. And going back to it is open to you if you were able to work out some of the things in the relationship that created the distance, if you were able to process and talk about things. And so getting back on track is really giving yourself some time with the other person in different ways and looking at those areas of intimacy as ways that might help you um, create more opportunities for yourself. Like we're going to sit and talk about the books that we read or the things that are happening at work or different theories that we have about life or things that we're wanting to explore. We're going to explore novelty things. We're going to do activities like always trying something new. We're going to go back to some of the things that we used to love to do and find different ways of doing them, especially if we've aged since then and we're not running marathons anymore or whatever it might be. So really giving yourself some time to spend time with the other person. And a lot of time life gets so busy that we become sort of ships passing in the night. So to have really intentional date night, to have really intentional times of the day that you connect every day. And some of it is like the concept that Gottman talks about is like bidding for attention, really understanding your partner's world and figuring out times every day that you might be able to connect in small ways that work for each other, not stress each other. And sometimes I've worked with people to just get back on track of organizing communication so that there is predictable times that you are reconnecting with your partner. So remember I talked about the simplest things to do that rekindle intimacy, right? That rekindle connection. In my sessions, a lot of times I have people just look at each other for 2 minutes without talking. Sometimes it's like to give the five appreciations. Other time is to start doing some of those exercises and games. And I'll put a link down here for the 36 questions you can ask each other. Another point is journaling every day a page of things that you want that other person to know that you're thinking about. And then writing back to them when they send theirs about, oh, you didn't know all these things about them, and maybe having a few questions so that there's this sort of spontaneous writing going on. So there's many ways to rekindle the relationship. But my final thoughts about this is that you have to be really intentional and want to do it. And again, not wanting to develop any of the intimacy is an indicator to you that you know the direction that you're going. And it might not, it might be, I don't have the energy for this right now because of all that's going on in our world. Or I'm really clear, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to explore. I can't get over some of the past. So this is important information of whether you can approach this topic.